Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Task Force on Natural Gas Planning virtual workshop orientation. My name is Long Lam. I am a managing energy associate at the Brado Group, and my colleagues and I have been assisting Kira and her NARUC colleagues with this task force, and I'll be guiding you through today's session. And the goal is to give you some background on the task force and share with you what the task force has been up to over the past year or so, and prepare you for your participation in this virtual workshop in about 2 weeks. And I just wanted to remind everybody that we are recording this meeting, so we can share it with the folks who are not able to make it to this meeting today. So this task force was announced in 2023, and we convened for the first time later in that year. The task force is meant to provide a forum for participants to envision and make progress on developing new processed approaches and for considering gas distribution, resource planning in their states. And it brings together representatives from 21 states across the country, as you can see here on this map. And the task force membership reflects the diversity of NARUC's membership, representing different geographies, planning approaches, economies, and state goals. This diversity is important as we can develop comprehensive and adaptable strategies for natural gas planning. And we have Commissioner Fitz Johnson from Georgia is the chair of the task force, and our co-vice chairs are Commissioners Zerfus from Pennsylvania and Commissioner Tammy Cordova from Nevada. So the task force on the next slide. So the task force members self-selected into 4 different cohorts, and each cohort focuses on a different issue related to natural gas planning, and they are reliability, so how to maintain or enhance reliability of the distribution system, how to address affordability concerns, how to best achieve state clean energy policies, and how to best support gas-based economic development goals. On this table, you can see the different task force members in their respective cohort. So in the next slide, let me spend a few minutes to brief you on what the task force has been up to in the last year or so. Our problem statement is that regulators do not have sufficient information about technology options and trade-offs to make gas investments decisions within the current frameworks. And the goal of this workshop, as well as the task force, is to help regulators improve the understanding of the different technology pathways and to facilitate exchange and implementation of various strategies to align system planning and investments with state policy goals. To accomplish this, we developed a 2-phase approach. In phase 1, the task force members attended an in-person workshop where they shared state-specific status and needs, and we followed on with an expert learning series, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. We kicked off phase 2 in Atlanta, and the cohorts put pen to paper and developed their process maps. These process maps have been refined through a number of virtual meetings, and then at this virtual workshop, we will refine them further. And if everything goes according to plan, that we are going to share the planning roadmaps and the path forwards later this year. Next slide. So as I mentioned, we conducted a series of expert learning sessions last year, and experts were invited to share the different approaches, different perspectives, and industry developments with the task force members. We started the series with a session on natural gas integrated resource planning, and then we took a deep dive into issues related to gas infrastructure investments, volatility in gas, demand, supply, and price, emerging technologies, rate making and affordability, and gas and electric coordination. And by popular request, we scheduled 2 additional sessions on renewable natural gas and evaluating non-pipeline alternatives. And throughout the series, we welcome 24 expert speakers on the next slide from organizations such as the Energy Innovation Institute in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia Gas Works, Groundwork Data, and so on. 16 commissioners also shared with the task force their regulatory perspectives and best practices in their states. And these sessions helped us examine the key challenges, potential solutions, and industry trends, all of which inform the recommendations that the task force is developing. And if you go on to the next slide, Kira, this word cloud provides some of the things that were discussed during these sessions. I guess they are a little bit out of context, but if you are interested, you can find the recordings of all of these expert learning sessions on the NARUC Task Force website. So next, I'm going to pass it over to Kira, who will explain how we will conduct the virtual workshop later this month.
All right, thank you, Long. So as we convened our last in-person workshop in Atlanta in October, we realized that there were many issues and questions that the task force members were raising, where we could really use some external input from regulated utilities, from consumer advocates, from consultants, from environmental organizations, and other stakeholders and subject matter experts that you all are parts of. So our purpose in inviting you all to participate in this workshop is to give us kind of a sanity check, give the cohorts a sanity check, and some expertise to contribute to refinements to their process maps. We hope to also begin gaining some buy-in on the process maps and key questions, and the overall effort to see if what we are producing through the task force seems to ring true and will be helpful, not just to commissions and commission staff, but also to stakeholders. So we are proposing that you all, as the experts, attend meetings with the cohorts on Monday, the 24th of March from 2 to 4:30 to review the process maps that they have in place so far, and talk about the priority questions that they have that they're hoping that you all will help to weigh in on and illuminate. To do this, we are conducting interviews. The cohort members will be interviewing the invited experts and stakeholders on Tuesday between 11 and 5 p.m. Eastern. This does not mean that you will all need to be online for 6 hours straight on Zoom. We have a tool that I'll share at the end of this call for the invited experts and stakeholders to fill out indicating your availability. We've asked the task force members, the commissioners and commission staff, to do the same and to indicate which subject matter experts they would be interested in interviewing. And then we'll match you all with calendar invites that we will send out on Tuesday. And the reason for choosing 11 to 5 is we do have participation from across the country, so we want it to be respectful to all of the time zones. And lastly, we ask that you be available for follow-up questions from the task force members over email afterwards. They certainly might have other questions that they'd like you to weigh in on, so we'd appreciate that. Our key consideration really is to ensure valuable engagement while insulating task force members from any ex parte communications. So prior to sending invitations to experts and stakeholders, we did check with task force members to make sure that there were no conflicts of interest or active proceedings in which your organization might be an intervener. In looking for stakeholders and subject matter experts, we surveyed the members of our task force. We talked to organizations like the American Gas Association to find stakeholder representatives and experts that could provide representative individual contributions, sort of speak on behalf of their sector of the industry, not just on behalf of their specific organization. We asked for folks who are knowledgeable about planning processes and speak the language. Embody a spirit of collaboration. This is a unique effort. We are all trying to learn from each other and from you. So we just ask that you kind of come in with an open mind and be available to respond to the questions from commissioners and commission staff. Able to step outside of your day-to-day role. You'll be talking to commissioners that might not be familiar with your organization. Can participate without bringing an agenda. We have states that are in a variety of policy environments and are facing different conditions. And ideally not engaged in an active related proceeding currently with any gas task force state. We do not think that that is the case for anyone, but if you do have any specific concerns, please reach out to us and we'll get those resolved. The ground rules that our task force members have agreed to when they joined this task force in 2023, and that we would ask you all to agree to as well, is modified Chatham House rules. You can share with your colleagues and outside your organizations who was there and what was said, but not exactly who said what. Interest in gaining knowledge about evolving gas infrastructure planning process options and technologies, embody a spirit of collaboration, as I mentioned. Ability to step outside of your day-to-day role, participate without bringing a disruptive agenda to the workshop, and make contributions while practicing democracy of time so all voices can be heard. This has been a really participatory project so far. We've been hearing from all of our states. They're all very invested in continuing to improve their process maps. And because these are not final work products, we ask that you do not share anything that the cohorts are sharing, particularly the draft process map, with people outside of the task force. So this is an overview of which cohort we have placed each of the invited experts and stakeholders into. If you do not see your name and we're expecting to, or have a question about where you're placed, do send us a note and we will figure that out. We do also have some additional experts that might be joining the economic development cohort, and we'll fill those in when we do know. So our objectives for the virtual workshop on the 24th through 26th are to refine the process maps, incorporate input from stakeholders and subject matter experts, for both the stakeholders and experts and task force members to deepen their understanding of process steps that could achieve state policy goals of reliability, affordability, economic development, and clean energy, and to begin gathering guidance, resources, and examples for how gas planning processes could be implemented within a commission. We anticipate having as an output of this workshop at the end of the day on Wednesday, refined, improved process maps with sequences of steps that are well-grounded and have data or input needs for each step identified. So overview of the agenda. Monday, March 24th will be both task force members and invited experts. So we'd ask all of you to join us from 2 to 4:30. We will have a brief welcome session conducted by NARUC staff, and then we will go into the cohorts where they will present to the invited experts what their process maps are looking like currently and what major questions they have and are hoping to resolve in the next couple of days. Tuesday, as I mentioned, we're asking you to be available for interviews with experts throughout the day. Again, you will not be on Zoom for 6 hours. You may be on for 1 hour throughout the day. And then Wednesday, March 26th is task force members only. They'll be meeting in their cohorts to share learnings from the interviews and discuss how to translate the insights that the experts and stakeholders provide into improvements to the process map. So I've bolded where the experts are participating, and then Wednesday, March 26th will be just task force members only. So lastly, and then Long and I are happy to answer questions from you all. We'd request your availability on Tuesday, the 25th for interviews. We have a Google spreadsheet where you can note your available times and tentative and unavailable times. And then we have, as I mentioned, a forum out to the task force members where we're asking for their availability and interest in who they would like to speak to. So we'll do that matching on our end, and we will send out calendar invitations once those are confirmed with Zoom links. So would ask that, what you fill out on the spreadsheet, you can kind of keep open for the next few days while we are doing that matching process. And if you have any issues, I've included my email here. You can also reach out to Long and let us know your availability if you're having any trouble using this spreadsheet. I'll put the link into our chat in just a moment. So we'd appreciate if you all have a few minutes, if you could take care of that now or in the next few days. So I will pause and see if there are any questions. You can enter those into chat or just unmute and ask.
Could you quickly go back to the chart with the names?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm first just going to grab the link to the scheduling tool. And back to the names.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And Kiara, will you be sending a meeting invitation for Monday's session?
Yes, we will be sending that invitation this week.
Thank you.
And yeah, Kantisha, I see your comment, and I can reach out to you maybe after this call and figure out which cohort you would be a good fit for. Well, if there are no further questions, Long and I can hang out for a few more minutes while folks continue to put in their availability on Monday the 24th. And I do want to say a huge thank you to all of the experts and stakeholders who have made time to participate. Obviously, our preference would have been to have an in-person workshop and be together in Pennsylvania. But unfortunately, there was some inavailability of some Department of Energy funding that we had hope to use to support this workshop. So we are pivoting to this virtual format, but very, very grateful for all of your participation.